Some time talking about Jake Tapper's recent book. I recently had the misfortune of listening to it. Um, Jake Tapper, I had no intention, and what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give you all sort of a sneak preview of the article that I wrote yesterday for my Substack, Critiquing Power, which again I all recommend that you subscribe, but then since you're all here live on stream, you guys are all going to get a sneak peek into this paywalled article, because I did not release this as a free article. So I'm going to go through this article, and you're going to hear my takes on, like, my ultimate opinion on Jake Tapper's book. First, though, before we get into that, there is one thing I want to just note real quick here by Mr. Tapper. Just something funny. Hold on. It was a tweet from earlier today from not a tweet from Mr. Tapper himself, but just hold on. This is going to be good. Trust me. Let's see. We scroll and we scroll and we scroll. Do we find the truth? Do we find the truth? Come on. Where is it? Pointing retired generals is not good. I agree. Cis people. Brianna Wu. Okay, here we go. Oh, crap. The tweet was deleted, but anyways, but what I was going to point out was, oh, the music's still playing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Anyways, the tweet was very funny. It was like, it was a video of Jake Tapper going, people making fun of his kid, his 15-year-old kid. Some facts about his kid. I don't know who was making fun of him, probably some other school kids. And I don't want to clown on the kid. I don't know the kid's name. I'm not going to look it up. He's a child, so I'm not going to get into that. But I instead want to just talk really quickly about Jake Tapper's reaction to finding out that his kid. Anyways, and then we're going to get into the book review. But first, so Jake Tapper was doing an interview, and he was like, I don't know why people are calling my kid far right. You know, he wants to be a cop. He plays football, and he's really obsessed with World War II. If you know anything about anything, really, okay, you don't know anything else. Someone tells you that they are really into World War II, they want to be a cop, and they play football in high school. Chances are they're going to be right wing. That's just a fact of it. Like, the type of young, basically white men who like World War II, who are obsessed with World War II, they play games like Hearts of Iron 4, and they are, I don't know what obsession his child has with World War II. I'm not saying, like, his child supports, the Third Reich or Nazis or anything, but there are a lot of right-wing aspects that you can really get yourself into for World War II. And I'm not even talking about the Axis. Like, sure, there's Benito Mussolini and, Japan and all that, but, even Patton, Patton had that infamous quote where he was like, I think we fought on the wrong side, y'all. I think we should have fought on the side with the Nazis, so that way we could have killed all them commie Jew bastards. I don't know what Patton sounded like. I've seen the movie Patton, and I know Nixon was obsessed with it, but I don't know what Patton actually sounded like. So anyways, like, that type of view type mentality, which has especially gotten really popular since the start of the Ukraine war. Not, again, to defend what Russia's doing. I think what they're doing is horrible and terrible, but simply just to say that it's just funny that since we're going to talk about Tapper. Anyways, let's talk about this book. So I'm going to read this article out loud, and this is currently behind a paywall, so you would only be able to read up until here, I believe, or here, without the paywall. But since you're all here live, I'm going to show it to you. This is not going to be on the YouTube VOD, so if you want to read this article, you either Subscribe to critiquingpower.com, which is the paid subscription option, $5 a month, very simple. Keeps the lights on, keeps me fed, keeps you happy, keeps me happy. If I'm happy, you're happy. But other than that, because you have chosen to spend your Wednesday night with me, I'm going to give you this article to you guys for free by reading it out loud now on stream, on camera. Okay. So, like I said, I had no intention of reading, listening, or writing a review of Original Sin by Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson. My reasons are multiple, but they're mostly stemming from moral disgust at Tapper's continued material support for the genocidal Kahanist terror state of Israel. Original Sin may not be on the official BDS target list, but everything Tapper can ever output is on my personal BDS list. He regularly slanders people protesting against genocide, I mean to say. And that is a link to an article. CNN's Jake Tapper slanders pro-Palestinian protesters, but continues to ignore shocking systemic bias at his own network. He insinuated that young pro-Palestinian protesters were anti-Semitic while continuing to hide his network's bias. He helped launder the lie that college campuses are unsafe for Jewish people, leading directly to the Trumpist illegal deportations of several anti-genocide protesters, including, but not limited to, Mahmoud Khalil, the Columbia grad student whom Trump has thrown into a gulag. And that links to this, and it goes on. This is an electronic intifada, talking about the campus protests and how Jake Tapper was one of the people that were helping propagate the lie about what's going on with college campus protests. And, we see the result of that right now. Mahmoud Khalil is currently, I believe, still behind bars in a Louisiana gulag. Like, he's not getting out anytime soon. And it's partly due to actions and propaganda that people like Mr. Tapper put out. There are countless more examples of him either defending Israel or remaining totally silent about honest critiques. And that links to this. Netanyahu just said, Israel will permanently occupy the land from the river to the sea. The U.S. media is covering it up. And, it's funny. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. That's anti-Semitic. But when Israel says they're going to permanently occupy everything from the river to the sea, Israel is all you're going to see. That's not anti-Palestinian. That's not anti-Arab. That's not anti-Muslim. That's not anti-Christian, because there are a lot of Palestinian Christians as well. No, that's just normal. So he is, in short, a liar, a Kahanist supporter with blood on his hands. The only reason to ever have a copy of his book is to throw it into a fire pit and to watch it burn. But that would requiring purchasing it or stealing a physical copy. And both sound like a tiresome hassle. The other obvious reason why I didn't want to buy this book is that it's just a confession. And if I did it. For 5 years and nearly a decade, if we're counting other similar incidents, any discussion of Joe Biden being too old to be in office, citing either countless videos to that effect or even reporting from well-sourced individuals in the Biden White House, was met with a single rejoinder. It's Russian disinformation. And you can see here, a headline in the New York Times. Russian disinformation videos smear Biden ahead of U.S. election. Many of the videos are trying to appeal to right-wing voters with fake messages about President Biden, experts say. Your lying eyes. So, Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson, alongside their employers and colleagues in the media, willfully and gleefully cheered this line on. Seeing with your own eyes Joe Biden hobbling around, looking confused, or even falling down was dismissed as Russian propaganda. Disinformation from the Kremlin designed to make you, the American voter a Trump supporter. Immediately after the debate, the one I'm talking about on June 27th of last year, 2024, I thought that the line that the Democrats would try deploying would be that Biden's performance that we all saw was instead a mass cognitive hysteria event caused by a Russian energy weapon, perhaps with Chinese or Iranian help. Steroids. Thankfully, the Democrats and the media think we are all stupid, but not that stupid. So, I gotta ask, where was all this vim and vigor from Tapper during these last 5 years? I am aware that the Biden White House and fellow Democrats were die-hard loyalists to the Biden regime. That's not news, and that's never been news. I'm not expecting loyalty to the Constitution or the people from these infamous fraudsters, cheaters, liars, traitors, and genocidaires. But it was the media that was supposed to step up to the plate. The media that took the same ire they rightly had for Trump and turned it on Biden and his team of decrepit ghouls. Are they not the fourth estate, meant to shield the public from a capricious, foul government? That was the myth they told about themselves after Watergate. After all, alas, hyperpartisanism is hyper-stupidity. Because in seeing politics as purely us versus them, the original sin is owned not just by the Bidens and the Democrats, but by the media themselves. I want you all to think back to 2017, 2016, 2015 even. Consider SNL. Whereas they would viciously attack any low-level Trump staffer during the first Trump admin, pillaring them with mostly meh jokes, I never saw the Biden imps like State Department's Matt Miller or that vile creep John Kirby taken to task. I even saw it in my own personal relationships with normie Dem friends who had no media or political engagement. I don't blame them per se. They are, after all, only taking cues from the media and the Biden regime, who told them never to believe their lying eyes. It got to the point where I simply could not talk bad about Biden or the Democrats, else my friends might conclude I would rather have Trump in power. Not even after the 2020 election was I allowed to talk about anything bad about Biden. I should say Biden. We got some edits to make, folks. Subscribe, hit that follow button, turn on your notifications for everything I say and do. Give me $5. We're going to get a right editor to come in here and edit this all up. And you know what? I might just make this article free anyways, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to fix this article up after the stream and tweak some minor grammar things, but that's neither here nor there. Cool. We'll figure it out. All right. So, anyways, I was not allowed to talk bad about Biden, ever, even after the 2020 election. It was always, he's the most progressive president since FDR. Would you rather have a neolib like Hillary? Or, he just passed the Green New Deal. Don't you care about the climate? And always, well, sure, but would you rather have Trump? Because none of us, starting from the Biden White House, to the Democrats, to the media, to the regular people on the street, none of us are innocent of this original sin. It was a societal omerta. And our inability to speak truth to power has led to the exact opposite ideal scenario. By not asking, is the president too old? By refusing to engage in honest critiques of the Democratic agenda, and there are plenty, such as an unwillingness to tackle inflation, to invest in state construction capacity, a lack of a vision for a positive future for America, and much, much more, we got Trump. Would you rather have Trump? Well, your silence led to this exact outcome. So no, I had no intention to read or listen to this trite garbage about stuff I already knew about. But fate had other plans for me. In case you weren't aware, this is not sponsored content. Spotify Premium gives you access to ebooks for free. I have Spotify Premium. Don't laugh. I've never used the feature until now, when the book landed on top of my feed. Despite all I've said, I was still curious to find out the exact details about Biden's decline, to see if maybe there were still some underreported nuggets yet to find. The only details I did find interesting were extremely minor. First and foremost, and I shared this with my Twitter pal and streaming buddy, Josh Mentum. By the way, congratulations to Josh and Rue for their engagement. Congratulations, folks. But yeah, I shared this with Josh because it was funny how incompetent Kamala Harris ultimately was. So this is one of the examples here. So in the book, it said that Kamala Harris refused in 2021 to do very basic political jobs, like do the gridiron dinner, and that this refusal to engage with the basic tasks of a VP reveals her to be nothing less than a terrible politician with terrible instincts, as her failed presidential campaign shows. We can only pray that her political future goes the way of Biden's own life, the deep, deep grave. And the second thing I found out is that Biden ate dinner frequently at 4:30 p.m. Also that he could tuck himself back into the residence by 5:15 p.m. Folks, Sleepy Joe! He was so sleepy! And soon to be tucked into his final slumber, thanks to a nasty bout of ass cancer. Anyways, other than that, there is nothing in the book that is by any definition new news. It is all stuff that was either witnessed in real time and reported on, typically not by the mainstream media, or just interpersonal gossip BS that matters little in the real world. And really, all the juiciest bits, they were already clipped and dropped in interviews with Tapper before the book dropped. Why read the book when the damning revelation was on the front page of the New York Times or the Atlantic a month ago? Worst of all was that the book avoided tackling Tapper's and the media's own complicity in the cover-up. This is what I mean by a confession. Tapper pretty much lays out a convincing case for a conspiracy to hide Biden's infirmity, which would be fraud at the very minimum and treason against our Constitution at the very worst. But he ignores everything the media he himself did to perpetrate this fraud. This should come as no surprise. Consider all the covering up the terrorist sympathizer Tapper is doing for the genocidal Kahanist state. He either outright supports the extermination of the Palestinian people or is willfully covering it up. In either case, he is complicit. In a way, that is what support for Israel does. It blinds you to obvious truths. And that's another thing. Tapper is completely silent on the genocide, save for a few statements of facts, such as, that Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th, and it sent Sleepy Joe even too deeper into his slumber. So really, if a book called Original Sin exists, it should exist to document the media's cover-up of not just Biden's decline, but of Biden's and the media's continued support for genocide. Beyond that, this book is trash, and it belongs forever in there. I would give the audiobook LOL out of 10. And by that, I mean, one thing I will give credit to Tapper for doing is doing impersonations of everyone quoted. It was funny, and it drove me also a bit insane to hear Tapper doing the old Biden voice. Anyways, that's the name of the cookie, and the cookie crumbles that ways. Anyways, Jack, it was 1962, and I met the president I'm sorry, it was Iran, and I was there, and listen, we finally beat Medicare. So it was particularly maddening to hear Tapper quote old public statements by Biden and almost say to the audience, see, he sounds old. Considering that when Biden was saying those things, Tapper called such observations Russian disinformation. And lastly, what is the GirlBoss rating of all this? What is the GirlBoss take? 0 out of 5. What else could I give to such a shameless and pusillanimous product?